Jambo, I hope you're well. If you're new here, please do feel welcome. And if you are part of this nice community, inspiring community, thank you for watching and thank you for your support. Please do subscribe and carry on to support us. Subscribing is free. Now, today is a day of Thanksgiving. I woke up in the morning with a heart full of gratitude and thanksgiving to God. I remembered on the 29th of July in 2016, 6 years from now, a day like today, when I was waiting for my decision from British High Commission or Visa Center in Nairobi. And I had so many mixed feelings that day. If you've not watched my journey, please do feel free to look at one of the videos where I've talked about my journey of relocation. And I remember a day like today, it was those days when I wasn't sure what to feel. And those days when you wake up and you're not sure what to feel. Why? Because I was waiting for this decision that would either change my life or fulfill a dream that I had dreamt for such a long time, all would take me back to square one. Why am I saying that? It's because we were waiting for our decision, our turnaround time to be 5 days, but we couldn't get our decisions in five days. I'm saying we because it was me, my family, and a colleague that we were relocating with. As I said in an earlier video, when you are relocating as a skilled worker, you need to meet the English requirement. And although we had ticked that we met the English requirement because we had degrees, they needed to be certified by a body here in the UK called NALIC. It has changed the name. And we had not submitted those documents. So I remember that day on a Friday when I got this email. Was it on a Thursday when I got that email from Visa Center in Nairobi asking me to submit that document, which needed a 24 in 48 hours then. And I didn't know what to do and had to contact my colleagues here, HR here in the UK, who are positioned by God to help me and to help us at that time. And finally, we submitted all the documents. And so today was the day of waiting. And I do remember looking at my phone that day and seeing that email from the Visa Center saying that our decisions had been made, and so we should pick our passports from the third party, wherever visas are processed in Nairobi. And I remember driving to that office to pick the decisions, to pick our passports. And I picked it and I couldn't wait to open it. I opened it, we're inside there. And yes, the visa had been granted. Yes, our work permit had been granted. And I was so happy. I remember calling my friends, Jane and Daniel, and my colleague to inform them that my visa had been granted. And I remember going back home, finalizing my move plans, or getting out of the house and packing my bags and some of the household stuffs and taking them to Kinago, of course with a lorry, and returning. I think I spent less than an hour at home, which was history, because I was buying time before before flying to Nairobi, before flying to the UK. And I remembered how that day was and how I had lots of mixed feelings on what will happen and what was going to happen. And I didn't quite see, like, it I thought it was just like a dream come true. It is like I was dreaming. And fast forward, after packing everything, I remember I didn't even have time to weigh or whatever I needed to carry. We only had 2 days by the time we were expected by our employer to report to work. And I remember going to my children's school to say bye-bye to them, and it was very emotional. And of course, to introduce the person who would pick them after the schools closed. and then packing everything and moving to my friend's house for a night, before finally taking my flight to the UK. And I remembered how the flight, it was a long flight. We flew through Dubai, and so it was a longer flight than the normal KQ. And I remember when I arrived Heathrow, and of course, there was a taxi driver waiting for us, a nice guy waiting for us there in his Mercedes car. And we got in. And before I got in, when my feet stepped outside of Heathrow, I felt overwhelmed, by a certain feeling, of a mixed feeling of both joy and uncertainty, and just wondering whether this was true. But I also remembered, being grateful to God and telling God, God, I am so grateful that this is something that I thought would take forever, that I thought that maybe it will not happen the way it has happened. Thank you that I am relocating as a skilled worker to a developed country, and that I have the privilege to still work for the same organization. And I told him, God, in my heart, that's just why, just internal conversations. I told him, God, you promised that you will be with me. You promised me that my husband is dead, but you, the God of Israel, that you will be with me. I pray that you'll be with me in this country. In this country that I don't know where to start, where I have to start from scratch, from buying cups and forks and cutlery and blankets and all that. And I remember telling God, still internal conversations, God, I pray that your plan for my life will unfold, and that you will fulfill that which you have for me. And we drove and we took photos, of course, on our way as a first time, and we arrived in the hotel, and I still couldn't believe that it was me. And of course, our life started there. I am grateful for my organization that organized and supported us, and my colleagues as well, who were very, very supportive. Another friends, of course, who joined the wagon of supporting me. Now, were the first days easy? Was the first month easy? It wasn't easy at all. Of course, I had to figure out where to live, the schools, the nearby schools, uh, opening a bank account. And it is not easy to open a bank account here. You have to book for an appointment. You need your biometric resident permit. You need an address, and I needed so many things. And so I had to wait for a few days before getting my biometric resident permit from the post office. And of course, I didn't know which area, because when you go to a new country, you have to know the nice areas to live in, and not the very nice areas that maybe you would deprioritize living. And of course, you have to also check the schools, the nice performing schools and the good performing schools, and your social network as well. And so this morning again, I was grateful that I had friends and colleagues who were there to drive me around, to show me around, to help me look for houses, to help me know where to find taxis and move around. And of course, they were there to even provide the direction that I needed at that time. And of course, my employer, but the HR is limited on what they can do. And I remember getting my first house, which was a flat then, which I just got into with a colleague, and we just felt this is the house. This is where the house that God has given me. And fast forward, the first month was not easy. My children were still in Kenya. They would call every day, although they were very well taken care of, but they missed me. And they would call me like every single day, reminding me to, and asking when I would be back to pick them up. And of course, I had to prove myself as well at work, because I came to work. This is a new country, different lingo, and sometimes not understanding what my colleagues were talking about in a meeting, because our dialect, our lingo, the English is very different from ours. And of course, I had to catch up with work. In the countries that I was allocated. That time I was managing 3 countries in the Southern Africa region, and I had to catch up with work. I remember, I think 3 days after work, I had to write a proposal which was funded. It was a £1 million proposal. It was funded, and it was quite exciting for me to give birth to my first project, and another one that was ongoing, which was also funded, and it was an exciting first month. But settling down in a new country is not easy. It can never be easy. It can never be oversimplified. You have to get used to the people. You've got to get used to the system. You've got to get used to the food. You've got to get used to the currency. You've got to stop calculating how much when you're going to the supermarket, buying a pineapple, or buying an avocado, one avocado for £1, and thinking, oh gosh, that's 150 Kenya shillings, and all that. And really forming a social network as well, because of course I didn't have many friends here other than the colleagues that I knew. And the first 2 months, I felt like going back home. The first month, I felt like going back home. I was like, why did I even relocate? It's so hard to settle down. It's so hard to even open a bank account. It's so hard to even know what to do. And I remember before I went for my children, again, I was blessed to buy my first car here, because a car is not a luxury here. I needed a car to move around. So when I woke up in the morning, I was just so grateful to God. And I thought, you know what? We are living at a time when it's like we are in a sea of issues, and there are storms and around us, financially, economically, the economy of the world is shifting. So many people have lost their jobs, positions declared redundant, and sometimes there is the feeling of hopelessness. And I just thought of just stepping in here to encourage you and remind you that God has a good plan for you. Yes, you might be at your edge. Maybe you don't know what tomorrow holds for you. Some of the people who know me and knew me then knew that was my last contract. I was serving my last contract in Kenya before I got this job. And I just want to remind you that God has a good plan for you. My good book says that God has a good plan for me, and he plans to do things that I have never thought, exceedingly, abundantly above what I think or even imagine. So if you feel like giving up hope, hey, don't give up hope. There is hope for tomorrow. There is hope for tomorrow. You didn't bring yourself to this earth. You didn't bring yourself to this world. You didn't you got birth to yourself. You didn't create yourself. Something, someone, or a power, God, who is greater than you, created you and brought you to this earth. And he did not bring you here to suffer. No. He did not bring you here to be confused and to lose hope. He brought you here for a purpose. And I want you to bend in, and I want you to open your eyes and open your life and ask him to direct you. And you know what? He will do exactly that. He will do exactly that. If you have never dreamed, I pray that you go to sleep today with your eyes open or with your eyes closed and dream and dream, 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 and ask God to fulfill those dreams. If you have not set your goals, sit down with a pen and a paper, write, be bold, write those goals, write as clearly as you can think. Write as clearly as a spirit or the spirit within you leads you, and dare to dream. But know what? There is a Father, there is a God who lives within us, who is able to fulfill those dreams to the dot and even do exceedingly abundantly above what you think or even imagine. Yes, I came to encourage you, hope, encourage you to keep hope even when there is no hope. This is Lydia. She inspires all. Thank you and bye-bye.